I feel so bad. How do you pronounce your last name?
Oh, goodness. Can I tell you a secret?
Sure.
I don't know. So I am very last name fluid. I grew up with Johnson. I got married to my ex. I'm currently married to my husband who has a different last name than me. I would like to move to his last name, but I own the business under my ex-husband's last name. My ex-husband.
That makes so much sense.
So my ex-husband is removed from his family in Poland. They're like this one little piece that's out here.
I saw Polish
Yeah.
spelling because I've got Polish heritage as
Yes.
well.
So he didn't know how to say it. So I don't know how to say it. So I've gone with SH, but some people say it's SZ, like a hard Z, like Szumlas. I've always kind of said Szumlas, but I don't know.
I think it's Szumlas.
Yeah.
And here's why. So I grew up with the Polish side of my family.
Mm-hmm.
Last name Zańczuk. Was very Polish and was very into preserving
Yeah.
the name and the culture. And the family dog's name was Szumlas.
Okay. Yeah, probably
So
then.
I think that's probably it.
Yeah. No, that's why my last
He was
name
a
is
very good German Shepherd,
Yeah.
and we had a good time.
my last name is on nothing because I am last name
But
fluid.
if I say Tawny Szumlas,
Yeah.
that might be correct.
Yes.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. You are running for Ward 3 City Council.
Yes, I am.
Fantastic. Well, the name of this series is All Roads Lead to Pullman. I love our community. And one of the things I love about it is that everyone's here on purpose.
Yes.
Nobody drifts through Pullman. No one gets here by accident. You came here to get a degree, to start a job, to build a company. Like, everyone's here to do something, and that just creates a real go-getter vibe.
Yeah.
I love that. So I want to hear your story. What brought you to the Palouse?
Okay, well, I was born here.
So then the question becomes, why did you stay?
Okay. So my family came here after the Civil War, and they actually founded the Herald. I am part of the Neal
Civil
family.
War, like the 1860s.
Yes.
So before statehood.
Yeah. So I am part of the Neal family, Neal Hall, Neal Public Library, Neal Flowers, what was Neal Motors and now is Weissup. That's my family. I've been here forever. My great aunt Tilly was the first woman on the city council.
Historic.
Yeah.
Precedence.
Yes. So we've been here forever. And most of my family has actually left the Palouse. They went to WSU, they got degrees, and they've gone on. But my father stayed. And it's a funny story because he fought with his dad and he ran away to Alaska the second he could. Then they had me and they wanted to come back and be near family. So they ended up living 3 blocks away from his dad. So I fought with my family. I moved out to California the first second I could. Wanted to start a family, Southern California, Palm Desert. Yeah. Came back home and moved back into the house that my dad grew up in. So all in all, through all the miles, he and I have only ever made it 3 blocks from where we started.
That's amazing.
Yes.
The town, on the other hand, has changed quite a bit.
It has. Yes.
What have been the biggest changes you've seen in Pullman, positive and negative, in the time that you've lived here?
We're bigger. We're a lot bigger. The downtown has unfortunately faded away. I used to, before they bought the house they're in now, the one that I grew up in, they lived at the top of Center Street in this triplex. That was the edge of town. I had to go up there to pick up one of my daughter's friends like 2 years ago. It was the first time that I'd even gone up over that hill. I went up over that hill and I went, what?
Where did all this come from?
Yeah, I had no idea. I had no reason to travel that way. Yeah. So yeah, we're just a bigger community now.
Huh. Definitely. And, obviously having a business downtown, you've seen Pullman go through some cycles. Like, what have been the big changes in the way that people shop?
Well, the online thing is the biggest thing. Yeah. Gaming, like at-home gaming is the biggest thing. When my dad owned Rico's in the 80s, people would ski downtown and they would hang out all night at Rico's and then they would ski back home because there was no games, there was no Blockbuster, there was none of that. Like, if you wanted interaction, you had to go out, and you go out no matter what the weather. And that's just not the truth anymore. People go out
from a technology perspective and a climate perspective.
Yes, but people go out intentionally now. They don't just go out because. Right. So it changes the atmosphere of why people are out.
Interesting. So how long has Rico's been around?
Rico's opened in 1909.
Wow.
Down and around the block. So Bob,
not on the corner of Grand and
I don't know where, but it was on Kamiakin Street.
Okay.
And it moved into the location that it's in now in 1927. It had been That location had been Pullman's 5th silent movie theater. I just got done reading a whole piece about it. And it moved to where the Cordova is now. Rico's moved into that spot, and then it's been there since 1927
I mean, 1927, we're coming up on 100 years.
in that location.
That location.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
We're actually the oldest retail business in town. Neil's Flowers started in 1910, 1 year after us.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So when you think about the good old days of Pullman's downtown, what do you think of?
I think of White's Drugs, Corner's Drugs. I think of the hardware store. I think of Ken Vogel. I think of the Oriental. I think of Small Place. I mean, the Small Place was best breakfast. I just think of a lot of things to do. Penny candy, running to the pool, watching movies. I really wish we could watch movies downtown again. Just hanging out downtown all day.
Yeah. And do you see that coming back?
If
Because some of the things you just mentioned, market forces worldwide have rendered obsolete. We're probably not going to have 5 silent movie theaters.
Right. But that's an ish because we have a model in Moscow with the Kenworthy Performing Arts Center where a movie theater can be a multi-purpose community area and can run movies. So just because the model that was there before is dead doesn't mean that there's not new options that are out there. And I do think that the downtown can come back, but it's going to take intention.
Mm-hmm. I highly agree. I am always leery of people getting downtown envy and saying, oh, if only we had this place, cut and paste, it doesn't really work. But just the before and after with Moscow gives me hope for Pullman.
Yeah.
Because I came here in 2000 as a college student. I lived on campus all 4 years. We never went downtown.
Yeah.
Moscow's downtown in the 2000s looked like our downtown today. A lot of shuttered storefronts.
Yeah.
And if they can bring it back, we can too. It's just going to take, like you said, intentionality.
Yeah.
And so what do you think that looks like over the next 5-10 years?
Well, I think there's been kind of some wrong, misplaced attitudes at City Hall, and I don't think it's their fault. I think that there's an idea that the business owners downtown are rich and I think there's just a different idea about what it takes to own a business. Mm-hmm. And I think, and this is part of why I'm running for council, is that we need somebody there that knows what it takes to run a business, the hours that it takes, everything that it takes that can help other businesses get started or can help point them in the direction to get funding or this or that. So I just think, circle back around and kind of forgot the question now, but I just think it takes people who are willing to put in the work and the time and have some underlying knowledge about how to run a business in City Hall to help get that machine going.
Yeah, well, let's unpack that for a little bit because there's plenty of people who like to complain, especially online, about City Hall. Mm-hmm. Very few of them have the kind of skin in the game that you do.
Yeah.
So I actually really value your opinion on this. And let's just say right up front that let's assume the best about everyone in City Hall, both elected and staff.
Yeah.
Let's just assume that we all love this community,
yeah.
that we all want Pullman to thrive.
Yes.
Okay, we're not throwing stones at anybody.
Yeah.
But if you've been operating a business downtown for a while, you've interacted with City Hall quite a lot. What are some of the, as you said, misplaced attitudes that have made life difficult or increased friction for small businesses?
So first off, most of 99.8% of my interactions with City Hall have been overwhelmingly positive.
Oh, that's great to hear.
So, you call up, I need to make a change. I can't make a change inside Rico's without okay. I can't add a wall or move a sink. I have to have okay from the Liquor Control Board and from the city and the health department. So I call the city on a fairly regular basis if I'm changing anything or if I have any questions about what I can or can't do. And until very recently, all of those interactions have been amazing. I have loved working with the city of Pullman.
Until recently?
Until recently.
Tell me about that timeline.
I would say in the last 5 years, working with City Hall has become a very negative experience.
So we're talking about since a little before COVID.
There may be just COVID on. Yeah, I don't even think before.
Okay, so going back to the 2000s or 20-teens.
Yeah. And I even
there's a tone change.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I might even just be right around the time that we started talking about doing the downtown. That might even be a better accurate timeline
Well,
for that.
that was pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Then of course it really got intense during COVID.
Yeah.
Okay, how did the attitude change?
You know, like someone would come into my business and say, did you hear that they said not to come to my business because blah, 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 blah. Like, and so like, there was like this rumor mill where people lived here in City Hall and people lived here downtown. So we'd have like 2 different rumor mills that kind of overlapped about each other sometimes because some things were said or potentially said that hurt feelings.
Sure. Or
So
construed as such.
yes. And so it started to undermine what I think had generally been a positive experience between the two of us. So
What about just getting requests fulfilled? I mean, filing reports.
that's still no problems. No problems. It
Even
really
difficult times.
Yes.
So really this was more about personal friction
Yes.
than professional.
Yeah.
But of course one affects the other.
Yes.
Interesting.
So, and people started feeling distrustful, I think, of the city because we felt like people were saying negative things or we had heard through the grapevine, that negative things have been said. So, but when you start having negative feelings, of course, it's easy for things to kind of back that up.
Yeah.
So, but again, because all of and especially before the downtown, and especially with the seating, all of my interactions have been so positive.
The seating, you're talking about the
Outdoor seating, yeah.
With the new sidewalk.
Yes, all of my interactions have been so positive that that's part of why I jumped into this, is because I want that to come back. I want there to be a bridge between downtown and City Hall,
Yeah. So do you feel like things are trending in the right direction?
I think they can. Yeah.
I'm talking specifically about the chilliness between City Hall and
I think so, actually. I think so a
trending.
lot.
We have a ways to go.
Yes,
Okay.
I think a
That's
lot.
encouraging.
So Bobby, Judy, and now Garth Mater are really stepping up to bat for businesses, and especially businesses in downtown Pullman.
Yeah.
And I think they're working really hard to bridge whatever tension was there before.
Yeah. We're in an interesting time right now of turnover.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not necessarily talking about the specific city position,
Yeah.
but we can lump that in there.
Yeah.
But Marie just wrapped up a long tenure at the Pullman Chamber.
Yep.
And we're grateful for everything she's contributed to the community.
Absolutely.
Now we're in a new era
Yeah.
where there's a chance to reset some things.
I hope so.
And so, Bobby coming on the DPA
Yeah.
is something that I'm really excited about because she has energy
Yeah.
and our downtown needs energy.
Yes.
What are some of the things that we hopefully can get done with a reset of personnel? Like, starting over, here's how it should be from now on.
Well, Washington State has a lot of regulations.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to set aside the regulations I can do absolutely nothing about.
Can't do anything about Washington minimum wage.
Yeah. Or, whatever rules they have about signage in front of a store, or whatever rules they have about condemning a building because it looks bad or whatever. So I have to set all those things aside. But in the city council, if there is a time and place where I can push on the levers of power to get local regulations or local permitting changed to make it easier to start or run a business in Pullman, that's something I could do. And I could work with Bobby and Judy, and I could work, with the chamber, especially since I'm on the board, to find ways to push those levers and move them the way that they need to go.
Yeah. So, we got to stop short of saying I'm going to join city council so that I can just benefit my own business. We're stopping short of
No,
What
that's
are some
not.
examples, and I'm not saying that. What are some examples of policies and regulations that you see as a small business owner as needing improvement that you think will benefit the entire Pullman community?
That is one that I have been trying to learn about. That's a really good question because it's really not something that's in my wheelhouse. I know a lot of policies that have to do with my business. And
other businesses like yours.
Yeah,
So
but
what are some examples?
a lot of mine have to do with liquor licenses, which I'm not necessarily, trying to.
No, that's,
Yeah.
hospitality is a huge part of the Pullman economy.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And we want to see more people come here and be hosted and stay in our hotels and eat and drink in our restaurants. So
I keep thinking okay, so I talked to Miss Huddy's. Let's get you downtown. How do we get you downtown at a permanent location? Well, they can't because it's a flood zone. there's certain rules around their smoker and flood zones that make it almost impossible. Like they can, but their red tape is beyond what they can do.
And is
So
that an Olympia thing or is that a Pullman?
I don't know. I just asked. I'm just now learning. Like this is what I need to be doing, whether I get into city council or not, is I need to start bridging between people who want to be downtown and why it's not happening. There's a ice cream, the Ain't Far Goodie Bar. They want to be downtown. They can't get past the red tape right now. So right now, instead of even having like a food truck, they're operating out of a Jeep because of the red tape that's involved, right? So red tape, some of it is Washington State. I can't change that, but some of it is Pullman. I got to learn what that is because I don't know what it is.
Okay.
Because I came into this with all that already set.
Yeah.
You know.
So let's zoom back in.
Yeah.
So for your business then, what's some of the red tape that that's at the local level that would make businesses like yours and others be able to operate easier?
So that's, again, all that was already set up before I got to Rico's. I'm just running a playbook that's already there.
Of course.
So I haven't looked at some of these because Roger was the one who had to go through and do it. So we added minors. So we had to add the 42-inch high barrier inside between
Minors
the bar.
meaning being able to have
Kids
an area
in
where
there.
a family-friendly area. Yeah.
So we had to put in the 42-inch high barrier. We also have to have a 42-inch high barrier outside. Right?
Sure.
So there were some questions from the city when we were putting that barrier in about why does it have to be like this? Why does it have to be like that? Well, because I have to meet the liquor laws, which say it's got to be a 42-inch barrier. Right. So anyways, there's a lot of different pieces in play there. And most of the city regulations for us haven't been an issue except for like when we did the remodel, we need to set it in the plans because we're generally just trying to, the liquor board restrictions are so much tougher. So generally I don't have to go to the city except for to send them in the plans. So what I'm telling you is that I don't have to do a lot regulatory with the city because the liquor control board is so much more that by the time we've met their hoops, we've generally met the city hoops. So for a different place downtown that maybe doesn't have alcohol, I don't know what their regulatory things are with the city of Pullman because I haven't had to look at some of those things. These are things that I need to learn, that I want to learn, that I'm starting to have the conversation with these people about, such as the Ain't Far Goodie Bar, and asking them why it is that there's red tape that they can't get into it. I know that we have rent issues. I know that we have like fire suppression issues. There's like a certain number of square feet where you have to have fire suppression. But to ask a brand new business that has never made a dime to foot the $90,000 versus the person who owns the building that wants to get somebody in there, I don't understand that at all. I don't think that should be the on the renter if they don't own the building.
It seems like that's more of a landlord question, right?
It is, but again, I mean, that's not something that Pullman or anybody is
how
working.
Can you stay in business if you're telling your tenants that they have to?
Right. So this is stuff that
that's a capital improvement.
This is what I'm trying to understand is why are we not asking them to have a fire system even when they're vacant? Why is that not a rule that the business owner has to follow through? But the second that a business comes in there, all of a sudden you have to have a fire system. Like, what's the difference?
I wonder if that's actually a regulation or if that's just landlords being bullies to their tenants.
No, it's a regulation because I had a meeting.
Regulation is that the tenant has to pay
No, just a regulation that it has to be there. And I don't know who has to pay for it.
And you get an exemption if it's vacant. Is that what I'm hearing?
I don't know.
Because that actually makes sense.
I had my first.
Fire suppression is more about people than it is about the building.
Yeah.
You know that there's virtually hardly ever instances of people dying in a fire in a building that has sprinklers.
Yeah.
Like it's like wearing a life jacket on the river.
Yeah.
Like your chance of dying is almost zero if you're in a building that's sprinklered.
Yeah.
Therefore, if you don't actually care about that because there's no people in it, maybe you don't have to have a sprinkler.
Right.
I'm speculating. I'm not a lawyer.
I'm with you. So Carl Olson put up a meeting between us and like Sean Wells and RJ and that sort of stuff where we started learning these questions.
Ricos?
No, Carl Olson and I, and he reached out to like Castleman, John Castleman, and other people.
Other candidates.
Yeah, to say, do you want to come and learn? And I said, I absolutely want to come and learn. So that's where we started asking these questions. So I have some answers in an email from the city. So I don't know who is in charge of that, but I just don't think that a brand new business that has never made a dime should have to pony up a $90,000 fire suppression system when they may be out of business in a year.
Yeah,
And part of that might be because they had to pony up that system, right?
absolutely. Yeah,
You only need that.
I'd be interested in getting clarity on who is pushing that on the tenant as opposed to the landlord, since it is a capital improvement.
Yes.
And if the business leaves, the landlord still retains the value of having a sprinklered building. So I'm curious if that's a city thing or if that's just a bad habit that people are in.
I don't know. This is all like on my list of things that I'm starting to learn about. Then if you have to have a sprinkler at like 5,000 feet, well, let's say that they're only coming in and they're only going to take 2,500 square feet of that space. But then Pullman is still making them get a sprinkler because the overall space is 5,000, even you're only coming in, putting up a wall and using this much. Like there's just all these little things, all these little permits and regulation rules that just seem to stop people. Whereas they can just walk into an open space in Moscow and just be like, oh, I'm here now. I'm not saying that's better. I happen to like knowing that if you go into a place, you won't die in a fire. But there has to be something in between because this is not okay, you know?
And figuring out where the interface is between state safety code and local implementation. That's a nuanced thing, right?
It is.
You know, because so many of these things, the rule might be out of our control, but the care and the compassion with which we enforce it, that is under our control.
Yes.
Right. The unfortunate thing is here in Pullman, we have a lot of deferred maintenance on, a lot of things, but one of them being structures. We have older structures that probably should have been sprinklered a long time ago.
Yeah.
And now that's kind of catching up with us almost in the same way that property taxes are now at the state level, which is also frustrating. So, nobody wins when we have to do that kind of deferred maintenance. That's tough.
Something else I would love that the lawyer has said we cannot do, and I do not understand why, is
The city lawyer.
Yes, I would love to be able to do something about shuttered businesses that are falling apart.
Shuttered businesses or
shuttered buildings. Shuttered.
Sure.
Yeah.
We do have a derelict building problem.
Yes. And supposedly we have a code, but the city lawyer, to my understanding, has said that we cannot actually do anything about that code because we may or may not get sued. But what's the point of having the code, right? So it's time to look at some of these city codes and say, why are we not following this one? Versus why are we so strictly adhering to this one? Because it does seem to be fairly haphazard in some places.
Interesting. So what would you like to see happen when it comes to addressing the issue of empty storefronts in town?
Well, first off, I'd like to figure out exactly what the city code is. Then I'd like to figure out why we're not applying it equally. Then if it's a good city code that needs to be applied, because some of them are, I would like to start taking the steps. You send out a letter that says, hey, this is city code. It will get, you have 6 months to, right? If it's not a good code, then we need to rewrite it. You don't have to follow all the city codes if you're in a position where you can make the codes better and more reactive, right? Like you can, if you're on city council, start making changes. Maybe these changes aren't going to be implemented in your time on city council, but maybe the steps get started.
Yeah.
So
I don't pretend to know everything about that particular issue. I just know that if you wait until you need an ordinance, it's probably too late.
Yes.
Right? Like if you wait until someone wants to build a wind farm out on Kamiak Butte to do an ordinance about wind energy, well, it's too late because now they can sue you if you try and block it. Similar situation. If we haven't been enforcing code for half a century, it's kind of hard to avoid a lawsuit if you suddenly decide that this matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
And ultimately, I think the end game here is not to put a fresh coat of paint on abandoned buildings. I think we would all like to see thriving businesses in those spaces.
Yeah.
Because if you have a business that cares in that space, then, sorry, do you call a stop? Yeah. Red light, we good? Okay, so this will be a edit point. I'll pick up where I left off. All right, good. Our best case scenario is to have thriving businesses in those spaces, because when you have someone in there who cares about how it looks, the problem kind of takes care of itself.
Yeah. Yes. And then to point about the spot that I think that we're all dancing around, the old Mimosa building, I actually have been putting so much thought into that.
Yeah, which compliments to the owner. They did just put a very fresh coat of paint on it, and thank you. We all appreciate it.
Oh, so many people have come in and talked about it. I mean, that in and of itself has been reinvigorating.
Yes.
In a lot of ways. So
would have loved if it happened a decade ago, but hey, better late than never.
So climate change is not going to stop. Climate change is happening.
I'm curious, how many people do you get skiing to Rico's these days?
Yeah, none. So that downtown is in a floodplain.
Yeah.
And that's something that's going to have to be addressed. There are going to be businesses that don't want to, even if that building sells and somebody comes there, that business is going to flood again.
Yeah.
And the
It's just a matter of
insurance
time.
and the insurance on that building has got to be outrageous. I just can't imagine how it wouldn't. So I just keep looking at that block and thinking if there's some way that we can reimagine that. Like if there's some way that that block comes down and like a spot for food trucks going, right? Like semi-permanent places, semi-permanent structures that maybe could be mobile during a flood. Like, I think it's time to start reimagining, not just fixing, but reimagining some of our spaces for the coming century.
That's an interesting idea. I mean, it would mean the loss of some history.
It would. And I'm not saying that it has to happen.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it has to happen. I've just really started thinking about what does Pullman need?
Yeah.
What does Pullman have? And what are the challenges that are going to be coming in the next century? And floods are just going to come more often. We're already seeing that in Texas and other places. We know that the river floods.
Yeah.
We know that if they do manage to sell it for as much money as they're asking for it, that's going to be a hardship for the next owner.
Yeah.
So how do we reimagine that?
Awesome. Love that. You had a front row seat to all of the downtown action in the last year.
Yeah.
You know, Project Downtown Pullman,
Yeah.
as most people know, I was somewhat involved in that. Yes. But you were there front row seat the entire time.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, just personally,
Yeah.
you were such an encouragement.
Thank
You were one of the very, very few who actually stayed positive the whole time.
Oh, it was
And you
wonderful.
did that during a time when it couldn't have been good for business. Like, it's not like you got off scot-free.
No.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that this summer is worse than last summer.
Seriously.
Yes. So
So
People can-
construction is not the only factor that affects
So
small businesses downtown,
WSU has entered a new era of this global campus.
which means no in-person students in the summer.
Yes. So this is much like when my father owned Rico's in the 80s. Because in the 80s, nobody stayed for summer school. There was tumbleweeds rolling across Maine.
Interesting.
So you were a 9-month business. You had to save everything that you earned to bridge those 3 months. A lot of places just closed. There are still places that just close, even though the last decade of summers has been good. There are places that still just close, like the Hot Pot across the street. They closed for a lot of the summers.
Okay.
It's just part of our institutional like memory that summers are really bad. Then, like Elson Floyd on, maybe summers started really picking up. I think as school got more expensive and people were trying to get out in 4 years, the summer school was really becoming a thing.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, people were staying here and our summers started picking up. We started peeking around the corner at the idea of being a 12-month town, which is awesome, which is somewhere I want us to be.
Absolutely.
Then this global campus initiative came in.
Yeah.
They do not need to be here during the summer, and they're not. So the construction hurt, but the point was that it was going to be better at the end. And I've lived through, like, my parents remodeled our house when I was in middle school, and nothing ever goes right in a remodel. Like nothing, right?
No one ever says that remodel was super smooth and went
Yeah.
exactly as planned.
No. So like I knew what was coming. I knew that it was going to be problematic. We knew that they were going to find stuff from a century ago. We knew going into that it was going to be hard. We'd had 2 years talking about it to save money, to bridge the gap of summer, just like we did during the 80s, just like we did during the early 90s. So we had an institutional memory for how to deal with that. Then this summer has been just as bad as last summer.
Wow.
I think last summer was better because Pullman, much like COVID, rallied around us.
Yeah.
Pullman does love its downtown. Pullman does love its retail spaces, even across the town, not just the downtown. Pullman worked together to keep almost every single one of us alive during COVID. Yeah. The only couple that closed that I know closed because they wanted to. Like they saw that as an opportunity. And Pullman, you know, it wasn't an easy summer for anybody, but Pullman kept us alive. Pullman went to work. And that's why I think that our downtown can come back, is because Pullman wants that.
I agree. It's good to hear your perspective. I'm heartbroken to hear that it's been a second hard summer in a row.
Yeah.
But like that,
Yeah.
that's but you would know better than anybody else.
Yeah.
So just kind of focusing on the construction period itself, or maybe the lead up to it.
Yeah.
Because you had such a positive attitude, I really care about your feedback on this.
Thank you.
What did we do well, and what could we have done better?
I don't think a lot of people realize how much the city went to bat for downtown prior to that. I think if you go to any construction space like that, you're going to see chain link fence, and you're going to see the whole area blocked off. Businesses be
Sidewalks gone, no access to front doors.
Businesses be damned. So while I have had some complaints, I think the city went to bat for the downtown. They got it opened. They got signage out that said, these are the stores that are down here. They said you can't have the actual sidewalk up for more than 72 hours. Like, there are things that the city did to make sure that there was a front door access to all those businesses for as long as possible, for as much of the summer was there. So that was really wonderful. The city, through you, put out a lot of really positive advertising, trying to explain what was happening. I think that was really good.
Okay.
Apollo was wonderful. They were kind. They were easy to work with. They would stop and answer any question we had. So if we wanted to know about something like, why are you doing that? The guy would stop and he would talk to you.
Tom O'Neill.
Yeah.
He was amazing. He actually called me just a few weeks ago about a different project. And I'm like, man, thank you so much for how well you took care of our businesses during this project.
I adored him. What I think the city did wrong from the get-go was call it a beautification process. I think that the city should have come out with, it is an infrastructure project. We have aging pipes. They need to be pulled up. And then this idea that it could be done over 2 summers, I would not have wanted that to happen over 2 summers.
I don't even know who floated that rumor.
I don't know.
Because it didn't come from the engineers. I never found a single engineer, credible engineer, who said you will save money by doing this over 2 summers.
And why you would want to have your front door blocked like that, because 2 summers is...
Exactly.
So I think that there were some wrong ideas that got out there, and I don't really know how you battle that except through the positive media that you can get. So I really think that's the only thing that Pullman did wrong in that instance, was they just, well, as far as to the public, is they should have called it an infrastructure project. Now, to the businesses, we were not given very many opportunities at the early stage for input. Then when it was finally opened up for our feedback, we were told that it was too late.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. So that is where a lot of the downtown and city tension came. So I do not have air conditioning in my building. So I went and I said, it's really important to me that I keep a tree out front. It keeps 20 degrees out of my building. I cannot afford to put air conditioning in my building. That is just out of, I've got a swamp cooler. It works pretty well.
Yeah.
But they never asked me why I wanted it. They just said, we can't do that because the plans are already drawn and all the piping goes right there. Well, where did I need to talk to you earlier than that? Because I was told that it was too early the first time I went up. So there was this lack of communication there at the very early stages. And I think that's what drove a lot of negative press out of the downtown, because we really didn't feel heard. So, and that's something that as a city council member, I would like to, if that situation ever happened again, to step into the void and hear people.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I got involved much later in the project after the fire was already burning.
Yeah.
Just to follow up, how's the temperature of the business now? Because that tree did go away.
It did go away.
It went away for a very pragmatic reason.
Yeah.
It was not a choice.
Yeah.
When we finally got around to excavating out the ground, we found the water mains literally entangled in the root balls.
Oh, the trees had to go. I know.
They were never savable. And the thing that I keep pointing at is there was about 2 months there where people had false hope on the tree issue.
Yeah.
And it was said from city council, from the platform, oh, we'll find a way. We'll go back and look at it. When the engineers knew all along, it was never possible. And there was just And then that metastasized and people held on to it and just it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
Anyway, how are you doing? Because you lost that shade.
Well,
it's going to be 15 years before that tree is tall again.
We have had a couple of days where we hit 80, but we do have a swamp cooler. We got a large number of fans. So even when it's a little warm in there, there's a good breeze, and I haven't had anybody complain, thank goodness.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, I got to come back and see it on a hot day. I haven't been in a while, and you do have the best Reuben sandwich in town. So
Thank you.
love that sandwich. Do you have any thoughts about the RTPO traffic study that just came out? The idea
For the bypass?
the study that RTPO did to figure out what's the best way to get some truck traffic off of Main Street.
Right. I think for the long term economic good of Pullman, trucks have to get moved out. Not only Main, but at some point in time, we're going to have to look at Grand.
Absolutely.
I do know that Washington State has floated the idea of Grand being 5 lanes with an optional parking during non-busy times.
There isn't room for that.
You'd lose the parking.
Sure.
So, and I think that nothing would kill our town faster than if we're just a truck stop.
Absolutely.
And
we'd be Colfax.
yes. Well, but even they're fighting to come back.
But we're doing better than Colfax.
We are at heart a farming town.
Yeah.
And our farmers matter. And our farmers struggle to use Bishop because of the stop sign. And the Druffles have made some very good points, and nobody knows more about farming than the Druffles. So you got to listen to them when they're talking. They've made very good points about why that's not always the best option for them. I'm trying to make good points about why it's not a great option to have trucks coming through town. It no longer feels like a safe space for children and families. It adds to congestion, it's loud.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that the report discovered, though, was that only about 50% of the truck traffic in our downtown is through traffic.
Yeah.
The rest of it is going downtown as a destination, which means we can't get rid of it.
Right.
You got to, I'm sure you have delivery trucks pull up.
Yes.
So
that does happen. I am looking specifically at the ones that do not need to be there. Those are
50% that we could subtract would make our downtown significantly more peaceful.
Yes. Those are hay trucks. Those are cow trucks, the livestock, I guess. Just a bunch of that.
All the way to Amazon delivery trucks to Moscow.
They do not need to be down there, and they should not be down there for the long-term economic viability of our downtown. Now, unfortunately, I do think the United States and Washington are about to enter a period of contraction. There's not going to be a lot being spent on infrastructure projects, unfortunately. So anything that I think that I would be pushing would be something that is probably going to be later than I would like it, timeline.
Like decades out, not years.
Yeah. But I think that it has to happen. And this is why. So WSU is losing tons of grants. And we're going to lose people that live here because WSU is going to lose jobs.
Unfortunately.
Schweitzer has started moving a lot of their operations to other places. Of course, their headquarters are here. They're still very strong here. But, they're actively building in other countries, Florida, Brazil. Florida's not another country, but also Florida and Brazil and other places like that, right? They are becoming a world player, and they're not always just going to be here. So Pullman has to find a third leg, a strong third leg of its stool. Now, we also have our healthcare here. That's a great job thing. Rural healthcare is about to take a hit with the new Medicaid laws that are coming out. So again, we have to find another leg to our stool, and it has got to be retail. It has to be a destination place. It has to be someplace that people go. Now, they already come here for football, so let's expand on that. Let's give them places to go that they can spend their money. They come here for baseball in the summer. Let's expand on that, right?
You say retail, do you mean local money being spent at local places?
Yes.
Or do you mean, you said destination, then you immediately talk about football traffic. Are you talking about like retail associated with tourism?
Both. Talking about building our downtown, building a core that people will come to, both local and out-of-towners. That can be a strong third leg. Whenever I vacation, I go to towns like Winthrop, or I go to towns like Chelan, or I go to towns like We went to Tahoe this last year, and I take a look. Why are people coming there? What draws them there? Why do they spend their money there? We can do that. We already have people that come here intentionally, like football games. We can then keep that money here. And then we can keep the local money here, but we have to build it. We have to make it happen. And I think a bypass is a big part of that, because if you're going to have an area where people want to spend money and hang out and do things, where there's music coming out of the restaurants or bands on the corner, you can't have trucks coming by, ruining that. So I just think Pullman has to expand. We have to become a 12-month town. We need to find new businesses to put in our technology park that bring in engineers or bring in, that sort of stuff. Once they live here, we have to ask them to really live here.
Yeah. So I wholeheartedly agree with the intent of what you're saying.
Yeah.
Being plugged into the engineering community, I see the devil's in the details here. So I got to just push back a little bit. I remember last election cycle at one of the forums, one person uttered the words bypass, duh, as if it was this easy idea that no one had thought of yet. When you say a bypass is necessary, I agree, but what does that look like? Because the RTPO study was specifically set up to come up with practical solutions, or ones that wouldn't require a federal earmark, which, as you just point out, is probably going to be in short supply for the next few years.
The farmers have already said that Bishop is hard. I like Bishop because it's easy. It's already there. You just work on the banking or you do something. So for me, that's a first choice.
Yeah. Bishop is also under our control because it's a city, we're talking about city council here.
Yes.
And that's a city road.
Yeah. So, but long term, you're looking at that Kirkendall Sand Road that's mostly built. I do wonder why Bypass Road was not finished. So if you turn left off of Bishop, there's a road called Bypass Road that just terminates.
It was aspirationally named.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know why that wasn't finished.
It's because they didn't buy the land.
Yeah. Oh, they did not.
The land that connects that road by the movie theaters to the state highway, that's still farmland. Nobody ever acquired it. And then the final leg that would connect it out to Johnson Road, we built low-income housing in the middle of it.
Oh, that's right.
So,
yes, I was out there the other day.
That was an aspirational. Someone had a really cool idea and said, "I'm going to write Bypass Road here, and we'll wish that happened." and the lesson there is that wishes don't build bypasses.
Yeah. No, I think long term you do.
I hear a lot of people wishing for a bypass as if that was an easy button.
Yeah.
And really, that's probably the least practical option just from a financing standpoint.
Yeah.
Now, if we had someone in the legislature or on Capitol Hill who could really bring home the bacon, maybe. But that's probably a $100 million project.
I know.
Project Downtown Pullman was 12.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I think your short-term stopgap is Bishop. I would just hope that they would work with the farmers and the people that have to do the trucks so that it's not a hardship for them, and then not take their eye off the prize for a future option.
And there's no solution that's going to make everybody happy.
Yeah.
That's why the RTPO report presented three things you could do, not in a ranked order.
Yeah.
Right? Like they all solve different things.
Yeah.
We also got some public feedback on all of them. And I had the privilege of hosting that website and reading all those comments. And something I noticed, and this is a little funny and a little sad, to a T, everyone was in favor of the bypass option that's on the opposite side of town from where they live.
Oh yeah. Yes.
If you are south of Main Street, you love Albion Road.
Yeah.
Right? If you live up on Military Hill, of course Bishop is great. Of course Kirkendall is great.
Right.
So it was kind of funny.
I just think it has to be put in the best place for the trucks at that point in time.
Well, and the best thing for trucks, we may not be able to afford it.
Yeah.
So it's, at one point they had a route picked out just over by the airport.
Yes.
And now that corridor literally goes right through our new runway.
Yeah.
Some of this stuff you have to think generationally down the line.
And I'm okay with that.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I'll talk a little bit about some different other local issues. You had a comment on Nextdoor recently that I wanted to kind of draw out a little bit. There's a conversation right now about shortage of healthcare in the Palouse, especially primary care.
Mm-hmm.
It just so happens I'm one of those people.
Okay.
I am between doctors right now.
Okay.
I was actually supposed to have an appointment today to establish care with a new doctor that I had to cancel because I had a video shoot at, and this is funny, Pullman Regional Hospital. So full disclosure, Pullman Regional is a client of mine. I'm
Yeah.
not on staff there, but I do work with them, and I'm a big fan of Pullman
Yeah.
Regional. But he said the hospital prioritizing short-term out-of-town doctors over long-term community-based healthcare professionals is deeply troubling. As a city council candidate, I may not have direct authority over hospital operations. Very good. But I can start the conversation. City council members can speak out, and I will.
Yeah.
Okay. Two things. I want to draw out your thoughts on that. Like,
Mhm.
you know, what's the responsible way to enact change with local healthcare? But also a more broad question. In your opinion, what do you think the job of city council is? What is city council for?
City council is representation of the citizens to the city, and they are representation of the city to the citizens. So when the city says we have to do something, right? City council is then consulted. They talk to their constituency. They learn what it is that the city has to do. They talk to the constituency and they interface that. Then they help make decisions to guide the city on how to do it in a way that best represents the citizenry. Or if they have to be honest with the citizens about that can't happen, they have to be honest with the citizens about that can't happen. Because a city does have operations that it has to maintain.
Mhm.
Right. So I feel like the city council is a bridge. Now, I've just started learning about what a strong mayor system is and that sort of stuff. So what my ideas were at the beginning of this is probably not what my ideas about what a city council is going to be at the end of this, because I am learning. So, well, I did not know prior to getting into this that there was even such a thing as a strong mayor system. So I've
It's
learned.
not unusual. Strong mayor is actually very common.
Absolutely. I had to go and read up about the two different types of mayorships, about the one where like the person who, you know, a different city council member will become like mayor for that term.
Figurehead. Mayor.
Right. So I had to go learn about this. This was not something, this is because government is very much out of my wheelhouse. I'm very much a private business owner. So I am going and learning about it.
Yeah.
So I don't really have all of those answers. I'm putting together what I think a city council at this level does.
Sure.
It doesn't have as strong a teeth as I had hoped when I got into it, but I don't think that means that it's toothless. So,
What do you mean by that? Doesn't have a strong teeth?
well, with the strong mayor, right? The mayor is really the person who gets teed up to make a lot of the decisions.
Okay.
So I didn't know that. I thought it was more collaborative, but I don't think that means that there's not power in the position of city council, because you do get to put weight. You do get to push on ideas when they're being made, or hiring decisions when they're being made. You get to be in the room for those things, and that carries a lot.
Well, let me just push back a little bit and help draw out more your philosophy of governance,
Okay.
because I think that's insightful. And I appreciate you acknowledging that you're on a journey with this, because we all are.
Yeah.
I'm learning as well.
Yes.
I'm learning as well. So what do you see as the guardrails on what a city councilor does? What do you see as entirely their job? And what would you say is not the city councilor's job?
Wow, that's a really good question, because I don't know the answer to that. This is all part of what I'm trying to learn. But I think that a good city council person has found a mechanism, like Brandon Chapman did, to converse with his constituents,
Okay.
right? To give them knowledge of what the city is doing. Because I think in an absence of knowledge, you get anger because there's confusion.
Yeah.
So a city council member in this iteration of the world that we're in now has to be pretty good at technology, has to be pretty good at getting a message out.
Yeah.
And then they have to be available for people to call and to talk to.
Sure.
And to field those questions.
I think those are really good things that I would put in the bucket of how you can do the job.
Yeah.
Right? Like, these are the tools at your disposal. But that isn't what the job is itself.
No.
What do you think the job is?
Well, again, still learning.
Yeah.
But when I am there and like the city comes and they says, we need to do a downtown project, right? Like the city council is going to be the ones who ultimately make the decisions. They're going to have engineering draw up plans, or whoever they're going to contact and get different bids, and then they're going to go to the city council, and the city council is going to make those decisions. So
make those decisions.
Yes,
that's it right there.
Yeah.
Okay. So something I really respect about you is I can't think of anybody running today who has more skin in the game for the future of Pullman and Pullman's economy and Pullman's vitality. Right. That's not an endorsement, but I'm like, man, I like you, Tawny. I like you a lot. And so you taking that intention into this position, I know that you could do a great job.
Thank you.
But something that I have noticed pretty widespread in our community is that a lot of candidates are under the impression that city council is a platform from which you can push things. And like, once I'm a counselor, I get to be a bully about whatever my issue is. And the truth is, if you want to advocate for something, you can do that now.
Right.
Right? We all can do that now. And being in that position doesn't actually change that.
I agree with you. Right now we're choosing a new city administrator. And I can't tell you how much I want to be in the room when that happens.
Oh, I hear that.
Because I want to be there to look at that city administrator and say, are you going to come with a positive attitude?
Yeah.
Are you going to come with a yes, we can? Right?
Yeah.
And it kills me that I'm outside at this moment. I can't tell you how much I wish I was on city council.
Imagine what those committee meetings would be like if we all got to be in there, like
but
standing room only.
I want to be there to make those decisions because I want to be there to ask those questions, the questions that I think need to be asked. I'm hoping that sometime in the future we're going to have a new lawyer, possibly a more local lawyer, and I want to be there to ask, are you going to come in with a yes, we can attitude? Are you going to help us get to yes? Or are you going to just say no? Right? I want to be there in the room to help make these decisions that are good for Pullman. And it's killing me that I'm not right now.
You are in the room. It's pretty great.
Okay.
It's pretty great. You're extremely influential.
But I am not going to City Hall with my ideas to push because I am but one person in a sea of 35,000.
Well, can I clarify something I said?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you can't bring your agenda.
Right.
But being a city councilor is about so much more than just having a platform, because ultimately you get to vote.
Yeah.
Right? From a legal perspective, the role of the city council has two jobs. Decide policy and set the budget. No one else in town gets to do that.
Yeah.
Right? I don't get to walk up into Parks and Rec and say, we're going to take 10 grand out of your budget and give it to this department. Like, I don't do that, but a city councilor does.
Yeah.
That's immensely influential. It's just not very exciting.
It is.
It's a lot of meetings. It's a lot of reading papers. It's the boredom and tediousness of governance.
I don't know.
Well,
if you're into
that, that's awesome.
So,
but too many people get in this position saying, once I'm city councilor, I can walk down the halls of City Hall and tell people how to do their job.
Oh, absolutely not. Can I say something about all the candidates that are involved right now?
Of course.
We're coming into what I think is going to be a set of very bad budget years. I think there's going to be a couple of them that are very bad. And yet, every single one of these people is willing to put their name on the dotted line on that. They know that Pullman is going to be angry because we're going to lose services, most likely, no matter what. We have a fantastic senior services. We don't want to lose those. We have a fantastic library. We have, as you probably know, Pullman doesn't do anything better than its kids. We love our children in Pullman, and we have parks and recs. I mean, we have world-class parks and recs.
Amazing parks.
Right? We need the new fire station. The new police station, they did a tour. It's old, it's outdated, right? Everybody needs money, and we're about to go into a set of really hard budget years, and yet everybody who is standing up to be elected is willing to put their name on what's going to suck, because it's going to suck. And we're all there because I think we all want a hand in shaping that and making sure that the things that Pullman prioritizes, such as our children, are still at the top. But no matter which one of us gets elected over the next couple of years, they're going to be really bad budget years. Yeah. And that's not on us. And we're still stepping up and saying we're ready to take that.
Well, and that's something I appreciate about your candidacy is that being a small business owner, you have your finger on the pulse of a segment of our community that not everybody has.
Yeah.
And as a fellow small
Yeah.
business owner, I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for that. So what do you feel like is out of bounds for city council in terms of, pushing an issue? And you don't have to mention an issue itself, but like,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have any answer for that question.
Okay.
Because I just haven't, I just recently read Becky Dubin's article that she wrote in the Daily News about how to.
It's a very, very insightful op-ed.
Yes, about how to pick a city council member. And she put things in there that I didn't really know. This is not a role that I've ever played. Being a small business owner, the book stops here. A good or bad decision stops with me, and whether or not I pay for it stops with me. And so governance is something that's very different for me. That role of shared responsibility and shared culpability, I guess, or whatever that word is there. That's very different for me. So I don't know that I feel really in tune with what's out of bounds there, but I want to learn and I want to do a good job.
Awesome. I love that. So to that intent, you said on Nextdoor, city council members can speak out, talking about the shortage of doctors on the Palouse, and I will.
Yeah.
What's your approach as a city councilor? What do you think is the appropriate approach as a city councilor to applying pressure to Pullman Regional Hospital?
I got to get in the room. I got to get in the room and start shaking the hands of the board, the hospital board. I got to say, hey, I have a constituent who asked me about this.
Yeah.
Do you have an answer for that? Or if you don't, who do I go talk to?
Awesome.
Shake their hand, thank them.
I love that. Room. And in no way do I want to recommend that you not do anything you've said. I just want to point out that what you just described, we can all do that as citizens.
Absolutely.
We could do that now.
Yeah.
Right? There's, for all the people who are talking on Nextdoor about the lack of hospitals, any one of them could send an email to Matt Forge today and say those and express that exact concern.
Action is hard. Action is hard. That's why
talking online is easier.
Yes. Oh yeah. So the one or two times that I've publicly spoken up against the city, which believe me, I would not have done if I did not feel pressured to. In my post, I included hyperlinks to every email because I learned from earlier posts where I just said, please email them, that it didn't happen. It's not that people didn't agree with me. It's not that people weren't upset about the same things that I were, but action is hard. We live in a very busy world. It's 24/7. We are doing something all the time. We are bombarded with news all the time.
But you speak up on that issue and listing those links, that's community organizing. That's a very positive thing.
Yeah, action is hard. So you have to take action to where people can do it. So you got to put the hyperlinks in. I got more people that did it when they didn't have to go find the information. So action is hard. And it's not that everybody's trying their hardest, So
I think that if we can all get to a place of assuming the best of each other, I think that'll go a long ways. Right? During the downtown project, I got some rough notes. I got accused of some crazy things. I had someone on the radio accuse me of stealing government money. Plus that was fun. I'm not talking about any one person. It's not like there's only one person on the radio who says that. But if we could all just believe the best of each other, I think that would go a whole long way. So let's wrap up with this. You've been here, your family's been here for over a century. Your family might be here for another century. What is your vision and dream for Pullman? What do you hope this place looks like in 10, 15, 20 years?
I would like Pullman to be a 12-month town where people live and work and play here 12 months of the year. I'd like to see really good jobs and startups in that technology park. We have WSU. There are so many ideas coming out of WSU, the professors, the graduates. Pullman needs to capture those ideas. Some students love it here and they stay here for the rest of forever. Capture them. Let's get them, free rent for 6 months somewhere in the technology park for them to do their startup and to see if it's something that we can get off the ground. That brings jobs. Then obviously I'll have to do a step there about housing. Housing's something I'm learning about. Then let's work on that third pillar of the stool to build a place where people can live. Not just live, but live. Have a downtown and have things that radiate from the downtown. Moscow doesn't just have a downtown. It radiates from the downtown. You can go over there and get anything that you need, right? Maybe it's not just downtown. So we need to have a strong business community that's open night times, weekends, 24/7, 7 days a week, whatever. And so I would just like to see a town that is thriving and is mostly self-contained, because we can be. We have the brain power, we have WSU, we have the medical ability, we have the doctors, we have a hospital. Like, we are set up for success. We just have to drop that third stool leg and start building.
Love it. Well, Tawny, thank you so much for sitting down. This has been a pleasure.
Thank you. Appreciate it.